On this episode of Warehouse B, we have one question for you.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
In the Mouth of Madness is next.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Macho Movie Madness. I am Brandon. This is Andrew. Today we are talking In the Mouth of Madness on Warehouse B, number 40.
Big number 40.
Big 4-0. That's crazy. So this one, man, Andrew and I just watched this movie, and this is the first time I've actually seen the movie, and this would probably be the first time in about 10 years that Andrew's seen the movie.
Yeah.
So he didn't remember a lot. And Chris, our buddy who started this channel with us years ago, is no longer with us. I say that like he's dead. He's not. He's perfectly fine. He just doesn't do anything with the channel anymore because of his schedule. But this is one of his favorite movies.
Yeah.
Especially in this Apocalypse trilogy that we're going to kind of talk about a little bit.
Right. I think if you go all the way back to number 10, which was Prince of Darkness that we talked about, I think he said he enjoyed this a lot more than Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's bold.
Yeah, and I need to watch Prince of Darkness again just to kind of, see, because it's been a little while since I've seen that. In the Mouth of Madness is a supernatural horror film, and it's directed by John Carpenter, which everybody should know by now. If they've been around the channel, knows how big a fan we are of John Carpenter.
Ooh, yeah.
And I know, I say that, and I haven't seen this movie until now. But, it's never available anywhere.
Right.
It's one of those things that I've always put on the back burner. Stars Sam Neill of Jurassic Park fame.
Right.
There's a few no-namers, but there's a lot of Carpenter alumni in this.
Right. Peter Jason.
Yeah, Peter Jason. Jürgen Prochnow or whatever. He's Sutter.
He's Sutter Kane.
He's Sutter Kane, right? There's people everywhere in this movie. Julie Carmen, and then there's Charlton Heston, David Warner. Right. From who's the professor on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and
Secret of the Ooze.
Secret of the Ooze, man. He's in a lot of other shit too. He's My Best Friend's a Vampire. That's probably a deep cut. I don't know if anybody's ever heard or seen that movie. We actually need to probably do that on B Movie Madness. Have we talked about that at all on this channel?
No, we've not.
I've got it. I'll have to let you borrow it.
Cool.
And this would have been 94, so it'd be the year after Jurassic Park for Sam Neill. Sam Neill, speaking of, has a hard time figuring out which accent he's going to be doing.
His New Zealand comes through a lot of the time.
It really comes through. Which he did a couple times in Jurassic Park. He did a little bit better in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's definitely there in the first part of this movie, and there in the middle in the hotel.
Yeah.
He definitely could tell.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, man, there's just certain words he can't do.
Yeah.
Or he's not trying real hard, and they're not making him. Budget was $8 million. Problem is, the box office made 8.9.
Oh, no.
That was domestic, though. Still, I don't know if it was
hot times, baby.
Well, this is also one of those movies that pays tribute to H.P. Lovecraft, and you can tell by the way you see the creatures and things. It's derived from the Lovecraft novella. Is that how you pronounce that?
Novella, yeah.
Novella. At the Mountains of Madness. See, I'm not a reader. I'm watching a movie about a book. I'm not really a reader. I can read.
About a book that they end up making a movie out of by the end of the movie.
See, and I feel like that was a shot against me.
Probably.
Because I'm the guy who doesn't read the book. I watch the fucking movie. Do you want to kind of go over the plot we mentioned?
Yeah, I'll do as best as I can.
Okay.
You basically got Sam Neill. He's an insurance investigator.
Yeah.
And there's this author. He's basically like Stephen King. Even the font on his books, it's just like Stephen King's font. Yeah. And he's disappeared before he can present his newest book. And so this guy that Sam Neill plays, he picks out Peter Jason as a fraud in the beginning. He's really good at what he does. And so he goes out on the road along with the editor for this publication, and they're looking for Sutter Kane.
Who's the author, and who's gone missing.
Right. He's gone missing. Kind of what happens is they get sucked into the book. pretty much, and he slowly loses his mind.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those movies that's kind of done in reverse, where he's in the mental institution in the beginning and you slowly rewind and get all the pieces, and then ends up back in the mental institution by the end of it.
I'm actually kind of glad you did it that way, because I feel like if you haven't watched this movie, you know what we're talking about. If you have not, it doesn't really give everything away to a point, I don't think.
Right.
And I don't know if I want to do a spoiler review here. I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit. Yeah, I don't really want to do that. No, I don't want to talk, because I think this is one of those movies, after just freshly watching it, I decided I think people need to give this movie a shot.
Yeah.
You really need to watch this movie. I'll put it this way, and I don't want to deter anybody, but I think, like most horror movies, or like most movies, thrillers, sometimes the ending and the reveals are not as great or as extravagant as your mind conjures them up to be. And that's no disrespect to this movie or Carpenter, but this movie does such a beautiful job with the pacing. Like, you don't even realize you're an hour in, or 45 minutes into you're 45 minutes in. You're like, holy shit, we got 30 minutes left, or 45 minutes, but it's an hour 30, right?
Yeah, it's an hour 35.
But we got like 35, 40 minutes in, and like, oh my God, this is going.
We just got an hour left.
Yeah, this is so fast, and it just feels like we didn't get anywhere. But it does such a good job at pacing and building all this up, and it's a slow kind of burn. And there's enough creepy elements throughout all the movie with Sam Neill's character, which is John Trent.
Yeah, John Trent.
And then the character of Linda Stiles, she starts seeing stuff too. There's weird things happening on their way to this town to find Sutter.
Such a good build-up.
It's a good build-up.
For the reveal.
And there's a lot of creepy moments that you see. It's interesting, the plot lines of these two characters, because you're building up him as the main character, and then somewhere along he's seeing stuff. He goes out to find it alongside Stiles, goes out to find Sutter. And along the way, it kind of shifts to her seeing things.
Right.
And him not. And him like, oh, you're just crazy, basically.
Being the voice of reason. And I just think that's so interesting. Yeah.
And then, her character arc takes a turn, and then his kind of takes a turn in another direction, and it kind of picks him back up as the protagonist again. So, and I don't want to give any more away than that, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
All I can say is Carpenter's just not like women characters.
No. He punches her in the face like twice in this thing. Yeah. And I don't want to be taken as a chauvinist, but as wooden as her acting was, she kind of deserved it.
Yes. Dude, okay.
She's one of the down points.
For sure.
Of this movie.
Everybody played their part pretty well, the way I would want them to play in a Carpenter movie. It's got its own vibe. It's got its own thing. Everybody did their own thing. It was great. She was the most wooden thing in the entire movie. Yeah.
And it's a fairly low budget movie for 1994, but I'm just thinking, put anybody else in there and how much better would it have been? You don't even have to have a name.
And I know what I said earlier, him being not liking female characters, obviously that's unfair, because that's not true, but especially earlier films, but that's in this particular film, and in They Live even, it's very similar. It's like, it reminds me of that.
A little bit.
Let's talk about positives and negatives real quick.
I like the cinematography in this movie quite a bit.
Yes.
At the beginning, it seems a lot brighter than your normal John Carpenter movie. Yeah. Toward the end, it gets really dark there.
Yeah.
And there's scenes where they're going down the highway, but it was a lot of contrast for what you expect from Carpenter, I thought, on the cinematography front.
Yeah. I agree, and I mentioned that at the end of the movie. I just noticed how, building up the world, everything seemed very Carpenter-like. It was bright, a lot of contrast, like you said. It made sure there's a lot of advertising for Sutter Kane. It really drove the point home. This dude's a big deal, and this stuff is everywhere. And he's Stephen King, and they even mentioned Stephen King in the movie, which is funny. But it's almost like there's a reality here, and then at the end there's a different reality. And that different reality is a lot bleaker and darker, grittier. There's not as much lighting, not as much contrast. Things just look very different, and it's fairly noticeable.
Yeah. And this, of course, is 1/3 of Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, which I want to talk about that for a second. You know, his Apocalypse trilogy kind of covers mind, body, and soul when you think about it.
Yeah.
You've got the Thing, which is a body thing, the Prince of Darkness, which is a soul thing, and this is kind of like the losing your sanity.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of neat how all those things kind of interweave their way through this trilogy.
Yes, I agree. That's cool. That's really cool. Way to say it. Another pro was the effects. For 94, there was nothing that was so egregious, even for that time, that I noticed that I was like, maybe when the dude, when Sutter was like in the door. I don't want to say much more than that, but like he kind of dissolved in that door or whatever.
Yeah.
That was kind of cheeky at first, or just for a minute, just the way because that transition is odd. A little bit. It's just because of the lack of ability to do things, I'm sure, in 94, and it not look hokey. But nothing looked and they did a lot of practical effects with the creatures. Those are all perfect. Yeah.
Done by the K&B crew, you know, who did all kinds of, the Evil Dead movies and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Right. And it's very good. However, they did some of those back shots. I don't know if it was just like if there were some like paintings or sets made or what it was. I know that church.
Yes.
Because the church, you could look at the church and like, that's not real out in this field, obviously. I find it hard to believe that would be a real church.
Right.
It's just because when they walk up on it, there's just something a little off about
just the matte painting and how it was.
Yeah, it's just a little off about the background, but it still looked like it's fun. It's fake, but it's not so blatantly a painting at the same time that for some reason it somehow works.
Yeah,
like it's somehow just a cool visual because I guess the way it's lit or something. I don't know.
But in an odd way, that's kind of cool to me in a movie where what's real and what's not. And so you get this kind of phony looking painting. That I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah. Anytime you have a plot where you're bleeding in and out of reality and what's real, I love that, man. Yeah. I love that shit. That's some stuff done right. That's supernatural done right. So I have to give props to the effects crew on that. Some of my negatives, I'm going to go with negatives here. Other than her acting, I think maybe as I'm watching, I'm like, when they finally reveal the curtain, it's like, I guess you just want the creep factor in the build to keep building because you're having such a good time. Yeah. With the build, you're having such a good time with some of the creepy shit that you're seeing that when it's finally revealed, you're like, oh, I mean, it's cool, but I'm like, it wasn't. Yeah. Maybe I didn't know where this was going, but I just didn't expect this for some reason, and it just seems. It's not. I hate to say it's lackluster, but it is kind of like because my mind. They did such a good job with the build. I'm like my mind's going here and there and
didn't quite deliver on expectations.
Right, but then you sit on it for a second. Okay, I mean, it's not great, but it's cool. Yeah. It's fine. It's okay.
The one scene I thought was kind of hokey in this movie is the scene where they go up to the church and Lord Vigo comes out with his shotgun and Suter unleashes all the dogs on him.
That's probably you're right.
All these guys have shotguns and they're running for their lives and getting massacred. And it's just like no.
Well, the Dobermans were just biting their legs and their arms and they're like and then some people were running. They had guns, right? And I know there was a lot of dogs, but they all had guns. Right. And then Lord Vigo, he comes out just shrieking at the top of his lungs like a Neanderthal and then shoots up in the air like with a pump gun terribly. Yeah. He also doesn't aim the gun when he shoots at one of the dogs. Just weird.
He did have a good line. I can't remember the exact line when him and Sam Neill are there in the bar toward the end. Simon tells him reality's not what it used to be. Right. I thought that was a really good line.
Yeah, he's about to do something without spoiling it, and then just like you're alone. Yeah. That was, I don't know, it was pretty cool. He said something about you don't have to do this. He's like, I have to. He wrote me this way. Yeah. So, and I'll give us a little bit. This town that they go to is something they find through clues through the covers of his other books. And, and of course it's a town that is not on any map. So you question whether it's real or not. Right. And they find the town. And anyway, it's still in question of what's going on there. And it wasn't written by Carpenter, but it just, man, this is such a Carpenter movie, man.
Yeah.
Just some of this shit you just don't understand. It's so abnormal in a good way. There's certain movies I can just sit down and vibe to, go to sleep to, put in the background noise. Halloween 3 is one of those. Now, Halloween 1 and 2 obviously has always been one of those. They Live is a big one. I can just put it on and that boom, 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 boom. And you just chill out, go to sleep, whatever you want to do. And I can see myself doing that for this movie. Even though there's some more intense stuff. It's just the music, man. It's so good.
I like the scene, talking about the intensity, the scene there where it kind of breaks loose. And there's this really good set that he goes running down with some of the Lovecraftian type monsters chasing him.
Yeah, that long tunnel.
Yeah, I told Brandon we were watching it. This is kind of the money shot of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of budget there.
Yeah, I really liked that shot. I thought that was really good.
Frances Bay plays Mrs. Pickman. Mrs. Pickman was Happy Gilmore's grandma, by the way, in this movie.
Yeah, she had some problems in this movie.
Oh, she had some issues. I guess you could call them that. The exterior of the Black Church is actually the Cathedral of Transfiguration. Both are located in Markham, Ontario. So that's a real cathedral? Holy shit, it is a real spot.
Well, some of those shots were real, were like the upshots.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something going on there. They were off, but
yeah.
Rest of the film was shot on location in Toronto. Anyway, I won't go through all this just to waste. Now we won't waste a lot of time, but I'll have to look into that. The film's main theme heard during the opening credits was inspired by Metallica's song "Enter Sandman."
Interesting.
Yeah, Carpenter had originally wanted to use the song, but was unable to secure the rights, and instead composed his own theme with the help of composer Jim Lang and guitarist Dave Davies of the Kinks.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, you know how, Metallica led the charge on Napster. So you ain't getting no rights to nothing.
Right. Not without paying for
Started early. Motherfucker. Anything else you want to mention about this movie?
No, I thought it was really solid. It'd been a long time since I'd seen it, and I'm glad we got to revisit it and do it for this.
Me too. I'm glad I finally watched it.
Yeah.
Totally
in your top 10 now, would this make your top 10?
You know what? Honestly, I think so.
Near the bottom end, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe the bottom end, because there's just so many in that top end that's so good.
Yeah, it's right there for me, right? I don't know if it's in the top 10, but it's real close.
We might have to readdress that because I don't remember, but I think it might have squeaked in the top 10 for sure. It's a good movie. I will watch it 100% again, many times. What would we rate this?
I'm going 3 3/4 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a good score. 3 3/4, 4. I'll go 3 3/4 as well.
Yeah, I don't feel quite comfortable going 4 because there's some bugaboos, here or there, but
yeah.
As far as expectations, at least, and so yeah, 3 3/4 out of 5.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The female lead could have been a slightly bit stronger.
Yeah. And
like I said, the expectations that you get with the reveal are a little lackluster and with the build up. And I mean, you could say the same thing for They Live. And other Carpenter movies. Carpenter's notorious for having really good movies that are just not the best endings. And some of them are really depressing endings.
I will say that last scene with Sam Neill in the theater, I won't spoil it, but me and you were both laughing. I thought that was great.
Yeah. That was a pretty good ending. And of course, with the theme, that was pretty awesome. Yeah, 3 and 3. I think 3 and 3. I think 3 and 3/4, if I can speak right, is a solid score for this movie. What else we got coming up next?
I think next time we all get together, me, you, and Kenny are going to do Highlander 3, The Final Dimension.
Yeah.
We talked about that originally being 40, and then me and Brandon decided, no, we needed to watch this. And in preparation for the verses we're getting ready to do down the line.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't put The Thing in a verses for an Apocalypse trilogy because it would just win everything. Yeah. So we're going to put In the Mouth of Madness against
Prince of Darkness.
Yeah,
and that'll be good.
That'll be pretty even fight, I think.
I think so too, and that'll give me an excuse to watch Prince of Darkness here soon. Okay, well, something to look forward to. Anyways, guys, I think that'll about cover it. Be sure and like and subscribe that we don't miss any of that content. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of In the Mouth of Madness. Definitely check it out if you have not.
Until next time,
we're out of here.